الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطاهرين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر إن الأرض يرث فيها عباد الصالحون صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. My dear brothers and sisters, let's as normal start with ayah number 62 of Surah Al-Naml. Let us pray for the health and well-being of all the Muslims across the world, here, those that are suffering from COVID, the Mu'mineen in Afghanistan, and wherever they may be, Muslimin, Muslimat, all human beings that are suffering at the moment. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء 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 أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. فاتحة. صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. As I was preparing, I just realized that we've only got 2 more nights left together. These nights have gone very quickly and very fast. Before I know it, we'll look back and Ashura has come and gone. The topic that we chose for these 10 nights was the topic of Ibad al-Salihin. What does it mean to be Ibad al-Salihin? These are the people that will help Imam Zamana, Imam Mahdi. They will be the inheritors of the earth. We looked first at the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. We saw how difficult his youth was, how many challenges he faced. And just when life has settled down, Allah SWT put him out for yet another mission to deliver the Bani Israel. We looked at Hazrat Ibrahim as a youth, a rebel with a cause, and as an aged old man who just had his first child at a very, very old age. And the sacrifices he was prepared to make both as a youth and as an old man. And we took lessons from that in terms of Hazrat Musa. We needed to plan, we needed to prepare, even though Allah SWT was with them. Hazrat Musa said, no, I need these things to make sure that I can deliver my message. Hazrat Ibrahim was the same. He was curious, he was inquisitive. We went on to talk about Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam, that you need to persevere, and he persevered indeed in trying to deliver the message for many hundreds of years. Finally, we touched on Hazrat Yusuf and his story, and the difficulty he had to face. And last night we touched on the story of Hazrat Dawood. Now we're trying to bring the discussion to a close, and we want to try to understand the qualities that all these prophets had, the message that the Quran gives us with regards to these prophets, and the practical lessons that we can take away after these nights of Ashura, and we can implement in our lives. There's no point in having listen to lectures and then there is no practical application. There's absolutely no point. Islam is a religion of amal, of action. Okay? There are suladin, which are the beliefs, but there are also the furu'id, the practical steps you need to take. Islam is not just about talking, it's about practical steps. And all of the prophets that we narrated about, all of the prophets had to go through great perseverance, great difficulties in delivering their message, Right? Quran has quoted those examples for our benefit. You and I are only going to face a small fraction of the hardship that they faced. Okay? That's why the lessons are there in the Holy Quran. And one of the things that I want you to take away, okay, and I want you to make a promise to me today, is all the streaming services that you watch, I will never be able to stop you from them. But at least reduce the time and allocate some of that time to the Holy Quran. We've seen how wondrous the stories are in the Holy Quran. Okay? And if you struggle yourself to read, ask your mother or your father, at least once a day, if not once a day, once a week, at least as a minimum. Sit down, take a story from the Quran and read it. Whether it's in read the Arabic if you can, if not, read the English. Start becoming familiar with the stories of the Holy Quran. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So what was it why was the mention of Zabur, Hazrat Dawood's Psalms, in this verse? We touched on it in the first few nights. Let us practically look at the life of Hazrat Dawood and the blessings that Hazrat Dawood or David got in his life. And that will give us an indication that when Ibadah Salihud, when Imam Zamana comes and these people will gather around him, what will be the earth like at that point? Remember, they're going to inherit the whole of the earth. Hazrat Dawood and by extension Hazrat Sulaiman only had part of the earth that they ruled over. Imam Zamana, Imam Mahdi will rule over the entire world. But through the lives of Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Sulaiman, we get a glimpse of what the world will be like when Imam Mahdi comes. Okay? I'm not looking at the signs of why these are the signs that Imam Mahdi comes. I'm trying to give you a glimpse of what the world could be like when Imam Zamana comes through the verses of the Holy Quran with regards to Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Sulaiman. وَلَقَدْ أَتَيْنَا دَاوُودَ مِنَّا فَضْلًا يَا جِبَالُ أَوَابِي مَعَهُ وَطَيَّرَ وَعَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. And certainly we gave Dawood excellence from us. And O mountains, sing praises with him, and the birds. And we made the iron pliant to him. Okay? So, Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam, we touched on this yesterday. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I open up our blessings to human beings through Hazrat Dawood. He was one with nature. Okay? I gave you some of the examples yesterday. We touched on it, so I don't want to recap on that. He was one with nature. He understood nature. Nature used to talk to him and he used to talk back to nature. Nature was he was so in tune with nature, the natural world, that when he was in worship, the birds would flock and join in the worship. Okay. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Okay? We have no sense of the natural world in our communities. We have no sense of what's going on in the natural world, what is going on in the Amazon rainforest, what is going on in the Arctic. We have no sense. It's not a priority for us. But the Quran is telling us that is your priority. We'll come on to a few more verses about Hazrat Dawood. That is your priority. If you really want to help Imam Zamana, it's the whole earth that you need to look after. Okay? So Hazrat Dawood was blessed by being able to talk to nature, but not just animals. The Quran talks about Jabal, the mountains, joining in his worship. Okay? Science hasn't quite got there yet. Okay? Science hasn't quite got there yet. But there are studies taking place in terms of what frequencies of waves, sound waves, are coming out of inanimate objects. What is inanimate objects? That is like rocks, mountains. That even those things, a certain sound wave is coming out of them. Consistent. Which indicates towards this, that even objects like stones are immersed in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Science is still trying to catch up with this verse. Okay? The Quran is telling us, even those things that you think are rocks and stones that don't do anything, even they worship Allah. Okay? It's just our understanding hasn't got there yet. Allah, Allah. The question I pose to you all is, how many of us are worshipping Allah? How many of us are remembering our salah? How many of us are remembering to pray salah on time? It's the minimum that is expected of us. Okay, minimum. So as you grow older, I want you the youngsters to start praying salah, encouraging your parents to pray salah if they're not doing it on time. Okay? The rocks, the mountains, the birds, they're all praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's our responsibility. We have been given free will, they have no free will. They will do it as part of their natural creation. We've been given free will. We've been given the choice to pray or not to pray. Hazrat Dawood was also given one other thing as this verse of the Holy Quran. This is Surah Saba, which is Surah number 34, verse number 10. وَعَلَيْنَا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. So Hazrat Dawood at the time was given control of iron. Okay? This is the Iron Age. Right? Any of you that have looked through history, looked through geography, historically, you know there was a time, there was an Iron Age. We went from the Stone Age to the Iron Age. You must have done this in a primary school, in your history lessons, okay? You went from the Stone Age to the Iron Age. Well, the cause of going into the Iron Age is Hazrat Dawood, according to the Quran. Hazrat Dawood was the first person to understand what iron was and how to mold it into a shape to use. Okay? Before that, people just used to use stones, or the iron ore, the raw form of iron. Hazrat Dawood was the first person to melt it, to mold it, start utilizing it. So what is the other quality? So not only are these Ibad al-Salihin, we're looking for qualities, not only are they in tune with the natural world and natural order, they're also looking to improve the use of that natural environment they have around them, the natural resources they have around them, for the betterment of human society. If I put it in another word, that hopefully is clearer to you guys, is technology that you have today, we have to be at the forefront of it. Right? Everyone keeps saying, oh, when Muhammad Zamana comes, we'll go backwards. It amuses me, we'll go back to swords and horses. Because that's what the hadith say. They'll fight on he'll come on a white horse and say, fine. The hadith says that. But it doesn't mean the time will go back. We have to look forward. We have to immerse ourselves both in the natural world, what is going in nature, make sure that we preserve nature, understand the minerals and natural resources and see how we can utilize them. Okay? That is our responsibility. If you genuinely want to help Imam Zamana, you have to pay attention to your academic studies and be at the forefront of your academic studies. I want scientists, I want doctors, I want engineers, I want computer technologists. If we produce that quality of people, then we'll be ready for Muhammad. Yeah? Just people that pray 5 times a day will not be sufficient. 5 times a day does not help Imam Zaman. Can you imagine the conversation? Imam, we're here, we're ready. Okay, what can you offer? Oh, I pray 5 times a day. Okay, what else can you do? 5 times a day. I do my fast. Okay, what else? What can you give the world? They'll inherit the earth. They have to run the whole world. Yeah, that's what the verse says. They will run the whole world. And this promise has come throughout the books. It's not just in the Holy Quran. Zabur, the Quran is quoting Zabur, the Psalms of David. And it's come in the other books as well. Some that are lost to us. It's come consistently, Mufassir say, in different books. But the reason it was referenced is to remind us that Hazrat Dawood, look at what Hazrat Dawood got. That is what the world could potentially be like when the Imam comes. So, command of technology and innovation. Now, the story could end there, but in actual fact, the progress and the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continued beyond Hazrat Dawood to Hazrat Sulaiman, his son. Okay? The Quran says, وَوَارِثَ سُلَيْمَانَ السُّلَيْمَانُ دَاوُودَ. So the inheritor, remember the word inheritor. Inherit, we said inherit, right? The beginning. So what does the word inherit mean? It means from a father to a son. When the son has to make no effort, right? So Sulaiman inherited everything that Hazrat Dawood had. Okay? And he expanded it. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. وَلِسُلَيْمَانَ الرِّيحَ غَضُوُّهَا شَهْرٌ وَرَوَاحُهَا شَهْرٌ. And to Hazrat Sulaiman, so this is ayah of Surah Saba, ayah number 12. And to Sulaiman, we made the wind subservient. We made the wind subservient. What does that mean? وَأَصَلْنَا لَهُ عَيْنَ الْقِدْرِ وَمِنَ sorry, apologies. وَلِسُلَيْمَانَ رِيحٌ أَغُدُّ الشَّحْرُ وَالرُّوحَ شَحْرٌ. Okay, what did that mean? That means that Hazrat Sulaiman was able to use the wind to travel the distance of a month in a very short time period, in a morning. In the time of Hazrat Sulaiman, he used the wind to fly from one place to another. That's what the Quran is saying. That is what your Holy Quran is saying 1400 years ago. It said Hazrat Sulaiman had the power to move from one place to another. That used to take a month. And he used to do, why? How? By traveling through the air. Sorry, Sulaiman? It's Surah number 34, Surah Saba, verse number 12. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Right. So Hazrat Sulaiman was given this power. So he was a son of Hazrat Dawood. Okay? And he was given this power. Are we not able to travel now from one place to another? Are we not able to have, I don't know, breakfast in London, have lunch in New York? Look at the distance we travel. So that power that Hazrat Sulaiman got, it's not just miraculous power, it's a scientific ability, right? Ahead of its time, and you and I today have come across that and we've figured that out, right? How to do that. Was it Muslims that did it? No. No Muslims were there. Where are we, my dear brothers and sisters? Where are we? Why are we not pursuing the scientific endeavors? Why are we not the forefront of science and development? Why? The Quran is inspirationally saying, look, this is what you can do. Why do we think, okay, how did he do it? No, it's a mu'jiza, it's a miracle, or it's a miracle. Well, the Western world has shown us, who don't even believe in the Quran, they've shown us how to do it. We need to be at the forefront. There are other things that we'll touch on in the Holy Quran. What else did Hazrat Sulaiman do? Hazrat Sulaiman built a palace of glass. Okay? Do we not see in Dubai palaces or big buildings being built of glass? So that quality, it's not just a mu'jiza, it's using the natural world, applying your brain and putting it all together. Now, when the Queen of Sheba was brought to that palace, there was water flowing under the glass. So there was glass on top, water flowing under the glass. Queen of Sheba lifted up her dress thinking she was about to fall into the water. When she stepped on it, she realized it was glass. Today, you see that. Today, you see those things, right? We can actually see it. We can visualize it. It's not some fantastical thing in a far distant land. We see it. We can see the videos. We can see what's happening. In Dubai, you've seen these huge buildings going on. You see animals, sea animals swimming underneath with people walking on top. You even see people swimming on top between two buildings. Okay, all of these things have been done because human ability is human minds have stretched themselves to do these things. Okay, this is using the natural world, al-ard, the world, the earth, and manipulating it to achieve something. Okay? But we need to use our intellect. Islam's invitation is to use intellect. These stories are there to inspire us to do this. Unfortunately, we've abandoned the Quran and said it's a mu'jiza, and the other people have said, okay, is this possible? How is it possible? They've figured it out. Because they've applied themselves. And by the way, and you've heard me say this on numerous occasions, the scientific development in the Western world came from which Imam? Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, from his khutbahs and lectures in Medina. It's a topic for another day. I've given a very extensive lecture on that, on the waladat of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. the verse continues, يَعْمُلُونَ لَهُ مَا يَشَاءُ مِنْ مِحْرَابٍ وَتَمَاثِيلٍ وَجِفَانٍ كَالْجَوَابِ وَخُضْرٍ رَاسِيَةٍ عَمَلَ عَلَى دَاوُودَ شُكْرًا وَقَلِيلٌ مِنْ عِبَادِ الشَّكُورِ. They made for him what he pleased of fortresses, of images and bowls as watering troughs and cooking pots that will not move from their place. Hazrat Sulaiman during his time not only could fly from one place to another, they were building monuments, they were building structures, they were engineering things that were way beyond their time. There was an inspiration to us to try to do that, and we just abandoned the Quran, thought it was a mu'jiza that would never happen again, but it does, and it is happening before our own eyes. Okay? So and during a time of Hazrat Sulaiman, the creativity of human beings didn't stop. And we need that creativity. Okay? We need that creativity. But the verse of the Holy Quran continues into verse number 14, Surah Sabah. فَلَمَّا قَضِيَنَا عَلَيْهَا الْمَوْتِ. But when we decreed death for him. Okay? Everything has to come to an end. The message of the Holy Quran is quite clear. Yes, the natural world is yours. Yes, these resources are yours. Yes, you can utilize these resources. But remember one thing, even the great Sulaiman had to die. Okay? And when we decreed, he died. Okay? Even the great Sulaiman with all the power. Now, Hazrat Sulaiman, what was his army consisted of? Popular film reference I'm about to give you. What did his army consist of? Consisted of men, jinn, and birds. Okay? Men, jinn, and birds. Men, jinn, and birds was his army. He could call any of the natural world, any of the animals, to come and join his army if he wanted. Okay? Queen of Sheba, when he sent the message, she said to her advisors, I was going to touch on, we don't have time to touch on that story. She said to her advisors, wherever he goes, he conquers. Let us come to a compromise with him. Okay? Let us come to a compromise with him straight away. Queen of Sheba is saying this, and she was the most powerful woman at the time. Okay? So he had who? The Quran says he had men, he had jinn, he had the animal kingdom, he had the birds. That was his army. Is anyone going to defeat him? No. Okay, he had all those resources available to him. All those resources Allah SWT made available to him. My dear brothers and sisters, having all of those things available to him, he still died. Death is a certainty. Certainty for all of us. We will all die. Because this world, this life, is but a short thing. Okay? We will all, I know you guys are all young, you're looking ahead to your lives. Old man like myself is saying, look, I've seen most of it already, right? Because we know the life has to come to an end. And it will come to an end. It's the one sure thing in your life that you will die. No one's going to live forever. We will all die. Even the great prophet, our holy prophet, had to die. Okay? It's surety, right? So we need to prepare for the hereafter. Now, the question I want to raise at this point is, from what we've described of Hazrat Dawood and Hazrat Sulaiman, it looks like all the qualities, all the treasures that Allah SWT opened up to them is opened up to us. It looks like we're at that time that they were. Looks like we're at that time that they were. Iron is being molded, glass is being molded. We're beginning to understand the natural world. We understand how different animals communicate. What kind of sounds birds make at a certain point when they're mating, when they're calling to a child, when they're feeding. All of these things are being observed, right? If you look at these documentaries, you can see them. Careful observation, years and years of analysis. They say, that particular sound means this. So that understanding of the language of the birds, that understanding of the language of the animals is becoming clear to us, right? As ordinary human beings, we're not prophets, right? We're not masoom, but we're beginning to get to that level of understanding. Okay? So you might say, well, we're at that stage. Where is Imam Zamana? What is missing? What is missing? Okay? So the natural world and the scientific development, yes, it's caught up. What is missing? Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Right, what is missing? And this is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares, وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ نَبَى الْخِصْمٍ إِذَا تَصَوَّرُ الْمِحْرَابِ. Okay, so Hazrat Dawood, and this will give us an indication of what is missing in our lives. Okay, so Hazrat Dawood was, and we said this already, Hazrat Dawood would spend a lot of time in prayer. He'd returned from the palace, and he returned to his house. He just finished his salah. He was immersed in his salah when two boys climbed over the wall and entered his mihrab. Mihrab is where you do sajda. That's mihrab over there. He's just finished his salah and he's there praying. And he says Hazrat Dawood became scared because they suddenly confronted him whilst he was in the middle of his prayer, and they came into his private quarters. They said, "Don't be afraid." They saw the fear on the Hazrat Dawood's face. They said, "Don't be afraid. We've come to you because we have a disagreement amongst us. We've come to you so you could decide between us." At this point, Hazrat Dawood calms down and says, "Okay, fine. Tell me your story." So one of them says, "My brother, he's my brother. He has 99. He has 99 cows. I have one. He is forcing me to give over the one that I have to him. The one that I have to him." Hazrat Dawood at this point says, that's clear. He is being unjust to you in demanding that one that is left with you to take onto himself. Okay? Seems reasonable, right? One has 99, the other has one. The one with the 99 says, "Give me the one as well, it belongs to me." Right? So Hazrat Dawood says, "No, it looks like you're being unjust to him." At that point, Hazrat Dawood realizes he's being tested and goes into ruku. Okay? Goes into ruku. Surah Sa'd, the verses 21 through to 26. Okay? Surah Sa'd. I'm not going through the Arabic, given the time constraints. Okay? So Hazrat Dawood realizes this is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and something tarq al-awla. So the prophets don't commit a sin. There was a better option, and he didn't take it. So at that point he goes into ruku. And he says, قَالَ لَقَدْ ظَلْمَكَ بِالسُّوَالِ نَاجَعْتِكَ إِلَى نِعَاجِهِ وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ الخُلَاطَ لَا يَنْبَغِي بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى الْبَعْضِ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَقَلِيلٌ مَّعْهُمْ وَظَنَّ دَاوُودَ أَنَّمَا فَتَنَّهُ فَاسْتَغْفَرَ رَبَّهُ وَخَرَّ رَاكِعًا وَأَنَابَ. So at the end, Hazrat Dawood realized he's been tested. So he says, he goes into ruku and he says, so he sought the protection of his Lord and he fell down bowing and turned time after time to him. So Allah SWT responds, فَغَفَّرْنَا لَهُ ذَلِكَ وَإِنَّ لَهُ عِنْدَنَا لَزُلْفًا وَحُسْنُ الْمَآبِ. Therefore we rectified him, and most surely he is the nearest to us and an excellent resort. What do you think? What do you think? I wouldn't say wrong is the wrong word. Wrong is the wrong word. But what would have been a better option for Hazrat Dawood? What was the, again, error is the wrong word as well. I'm struggling in English language to explain it. What should Hazrat Dawood have done better? There you go. Finally got the words out. What should Hazrat Dawood have done better? One brother comes, the both brothers comes, he says, my other brother has got 99. He wants one more. The one that I have, he wants. Hazrat Dawood said, okay, he's being unjust, he's demanding this of you, and this is quite common in society, that people are unjust. What was the issue there? What do you think? What's the issue? What's the problem? Who spoke? The one making the claim spoke. Did Hazrat Dawood listen to the other side of the story? He didn't listen to the other side of the story. Whilst his judgment was probably right, he never heard the other side of the story. Never heard the other side of the story. What is the problem that's plaguing our society today? You're given an image and you're asked to comment on it. You're giving a statement, you're asked to comment on it. You're given a video, you're asked to comment on it. It's plaguing our society. We're not hearing the other side of the story. We have no interest in hearing the other side of the story. The Quran is telling us, forget your scientific developments, forget your glass buildings, okay? Forget your flying from one place to another. Those are the easy bits. If you'd applied your mind, you would have done it 1,000 years ago. Those are the easy bits. But it is this, the society of justice, that is the hardest bit. Hazrat Dawood is being told off in the Holy Quran. You should have heard the other side of the story first. His judgment may have been correct, but he never heard the other side of the judgment. He heard one side, he went straight in and gave the judgment. He was a prophet, he could do that. But what is the message? No, here both sides establish justice, establish fairness, establish transparency to some extent, right? But what are we doing in our social media? As soon as we see an image, we're commenting. We don't know the context. As soon as we see a video, we're commenting. We don't know the context. As soon as we see, oh, he said this, we're commenting. We don't know the context. We're not hearing both sides of the story. And in that, you cannot create a proper society. It's a society of sound bites. It's a society, right, which is not deep and not well developed. We see something, we comment. Be careful. We'll touch on this tomorrow. Imam Sadiq says, be careful in expressing your opinions. Be careful. Refer to the ulama. Be careful. But here, the world is encouraging everyone to express an opinion on everything, whether they have the expertise or not. Has the moon been sighted for Ramadan? Everyone is expressing an opinion. Everyone. We're sitting at home expressing opinion on WhatsApp. Well, go outside, at least try to look for the moon. We're expressing opinions. Yeah? يا داوود إنا جعلناك خليفة في الأرض فاحكم بين الناس بالحق ولا تتبعوا هوى. O Dawood, surely we have made you a khalifa fil ard, in the earth. Fahkum, and judge بين الناس, between the people. بالحق, with the truth, with justice. ولا تتبعوا هوى, and do not follow your desire. When we are sending messages, when we are offering opinions, how much of us are actually spending time and thinking about what's message and where the messages come from and who the messages come from? Or are we just surely just throwing out our opinions, just like that, willy-nilly? Filling the world full of opinions, but far away from the truth. Far away from the truth. Because no one can be bothered to get to the truth. That is the amal of shaitan. That is shaitan confusing society. Because for him now it's becoming easy to manipulate us all. It's becoming easy. Let me throw an image at them, they'll all jump on it. We don't verify when that image came from. We don't verify where that image comes from. I mean, the classic one is the white helmets in Syria. Manufacturing images. It's proven today they were manufacturing images of children, and the same child was seen in 5 or 6 different cities during the Syrian war. That same child is seen in 5 different, because they were manufacturing and they was raising capital and raising awareness and raising money. You're being manipulated. Be careful. Be careful. Look to verify things before you offer an opinion on it. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. إن الذين يضلون عن سبيل الله لهم عذاب شديد بما نسوا يوم الحساب. Lest it should lead you astray from the path of Allah. Do not follow your desires. Judge bil-haq, with justice. Lest it shall lead you astray, and they shall surely have a severe punishment because they forgot the day of reckoning. When you express an opinion, when you express judgments on people without knowing the facts, you will be held accountable. And now we are. There's no more, oh, I just said it to him, I didn't. No, you're putting it on social media. It's there forever. The record is there. You've expressed an opinion on someone without knowing the truth. You've said so-and-so is a bad person. You've said so-and-so is an evil person. You've said so-and-so is a thief. You're expressing those public opinions. So be careful. Be careful. The society has to be based on justice, has to be based on facts and analysis. It cannot be based on just mere opinions that we come from our inside without any knowledge. Okay, the scientific bit is the easy bit, but the knowledge bit is the more difficult bit. My dear brothers and sisters, this was a message to Hazrat Dawood. It's not even to me and you. It's a message to Hazrat Dawood, one of the greatest prophets, who was given some of the greatest blessings. Hazrat Dawood was known for judging between people. He was known for judging between people. Imam Ali alayhi salam used to say, I am judging in accordance to how Dawood used to judge. Allahu Akbar. Imam Ali is saying this. When he used to judge, he said, this is how Dawood would judge. It's a very famous incident when a young man was surrounded by a crowd, came to Imam Ali. He said, I went to your appointed judge. He judged against me, so I've come to plead with you. He said, okay, what is the case? He said, my father went with this group. In those days, you join a caravan, you'd go, you sell your merchandise, you'd come back, okay? And it was easier to go in a group, just in case you got attacked, etc. My father went with merchandise with this group. They tell me he passed away on the journey. When I asked them, where is the merchandise? They said, there is no merchandise. He had nothing with him. And then when I went to the judge listened to their story. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I can't testify against them. They all said, no, he passed away, he had no goods. So they were all brought to Imam Ali. Imam Ali went to the judge and said, how did you judge? He said, I questioned them, the 4 or 5 people that went with him, or more, numbers not expressed. I questioned them, they all said, he was with us, he had no goods, he died on the journey, and we buried him. Imam Ali said, okay, let me judge in the way that Dawood used to judge. He tied the men up to the pillars of the mosque, he blindfolded them, he got a gathering on one side, he got them one by one. Today, you know what that's called? It's a psychological study, by the way. It's called the prisoner's dilemma. If you do economics, you will study it at some point in economics, okay? Prisoner's dilemma, it's a psychological study. Prisoner's dilemma. He called them one. So they were tied. Eyes, put a bandage over their eyes. He called them one by one. He called the first one. He said, so, what's your name? Where were you traveling to? Who was he with? What conditioning was he with? How did he die? Which day did he die on? Where did you bury him? What did he die of? Right? So he's going through a list of questions. He's going through a list and he's making it up. He's making it up. He's making it up because we know they're all guilty, right? The guy's making it up. And right at the end, Imam Ali says he got all his companions. Said, Allahu Akbar. So they all said Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Okay. The other 3 now are thinking this guy's confessed. Imam Ali returns him, blindfolds him, ties him up, gets the other ones. Brings the first one in, says, okay, tell me the truth. He said, we killed him, took his merchandise, we sold it. Took him back, brought the third one, said, what happened? We killed him, because they thought the first one had confessed. When they said Allahu Akbar, they thought he confessed, right? It's called the prisoner's dilemma. You separate the prisoners, and you see which one is telling, you compare their stories, till you find the inconsistency. And Imam Ali said, at this point, he said, this is how Hazrat Dawood used to judge. This is how we used to judge. Careful analysis, careful study before passing a judgment. Do you not think Imam Ali knew the truth from day one? Do you not think that Hazrat Dawood, he did know, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, Dawood, listen to both sides of the story. Oh, Imam Ali, listen, he's giving us examples. Be careful, I really want you guys to be careful, because things are being thrown at you, and they will be over the next few years, they'll be thrown at you, and they'll express you to, or take it on board. Accept it. Accept this opinion. Don't. Take a step back. Try to judge it. Try to assess it. Is this truly the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt? Check it back to the Quran. Check it back to the Ahlul Bayt. And then act on it. Don't just go with whatever comes. Black seed, what was it in COVID scenario? What was the thing, right? Have that. You won't have COVID. Stuff like that. There are manufactured hadiths in lots of different books. Be careful. Be very, very careful, my dear brothers and sisters. Salatu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I've gone over my time and I apologize for that. Let us turn ourselves towards Karbala. Today we're commemorating the Shahadat of Qamar Bani Hashim. Qamar means the moon of Bani Hashim. It means That title was given to Hazrat Abbas when he fought in one of the great battles when his father was alive. And he was at the age of 14. And when he came to the battle, his face was covered. He came into the battle, and he struck the enemy in such a way that all said, "Retreat! This is Ali, and Ali has come into the battle." Then Imam Ali rode into the battle, took off the face covering of Hazrat Abbas, and this is Qamar Bani Hashim. This is my son Abbas. Okay, so Hazrat Abbas used to fight like Imam Ali. In battle, he was like Imam Ali, and we know Imam Ali was the greatest warrior, without doubt. Okay, how many battles he fought? How he used to strike people and cut them in half. Right, that is Hazrat Abbas. Now, Hazrat Abbas was at the height of his powers. When the voices were raised in Medina, he wanted to take his sword out and cut down the representatives of Yazid. Imam Hussein said, "Oh, Abbas, we will not start the battle." Made him put his sword away. When Hud came and there was a dispute over who would control the water, Hazrat Abbas wanted to take his sword out, and Imam Hussein said, "Oh, Abbas, put the sword away, we will not start the battle." On the night, when the army of Yazid wanted to start the battle, Hazrat Abbas wanted to take the sword out and start the battle. Imam Hussein said, "Oh, Abbas, put the sword away, we will not start the battle. Ask him for one more day. Go and ask them for one more day if you want to do so." Hazrat Abbas is at the height of his strength. If Hazrat Abbas was allowed to fight on the day of Ashura, the battle would have been different. I say this with absolute surety. Hazrat Abbas was not allowed to fight on the day of Ashura, my dear brothers and sisters. He was not. He was not allowed to fight on the day of Ashura. It is said when Hazrat Abbas was born, Imam Ali took him in his hands. Some say that he kissed his two arms. Others say when he saw the arms, he started crying. He started crying. When people asked him, "Why are you crying?" Well, he said, "It is going to be these two arms that he will give for my son Hussein on the day of Ashura. These two arms is what he will give." So from a young age, Hazrat Abbas is being prepared for Ashura. What Hazrat Abbas doesn't know is on the day of Ashura, he's not going to be given permission to fight a clear battle with a clear strategy. He's going to be held back. It is said when the companions had all been martyred, and many of the Bani Hashim had gone as well, Hazrat Abbas came to Imam Hussein and said, "Oh, my Mawla and my Aka, give me permission to do jihad." My Mawla Hussein looked at him and said, "Oh, Abbas, how can I give you permission? You're the alamdar, you're the flag bearer of my army." My Mawla Abbas looked to the left, looked to the right. He said, "Oh, Mawla Hussein, where is this army that you talk about? They have all gone. Is it just me and you?" Mawla Hussein said, "Abbas, if you go, what is left? The women are reliant. As long as you're alive, the women are calm. They know Abbas is alive. We're safe. Our children are safe." The crying of the children became louder and louder at this point. Hazrat Abbas went into the tent where they used to keep the water skins. And the children, I read this tradition with my own eyes, the children were rubbing their stomachs on the water skins to try to quench their thirst. The water had all dried. Hazrat Abbas took one of them. He went back to Mawla Hussein and said, "Oh Hussein, oh my Mawla, oh my Aka, give me permission at least to go and get water. The children are thirsty, let us at least give me permission to go and get water." It is said that Imam Hussein and Hazrat Abbas both left the camp together and headed towards Furat. Furat was the river, okay, to get the water. They both headed towards Furat. The enemy of Yazid realized what was happening and they attacked him from all sides. Imam Hussein had to turn back because he got surrounded. Hazrat Abbas continued. He pierced through the army of Yazid. He arrived in the water. He told his horse, "Oh horse, drink." The horse refused. He went into the water. He picked up the water. He wanted to drink. And he said, "Woe be on Abbas that he should drink, but the children of Hussein should not drink, and that his Mawla is thirsty." So he filled the flask up He put it on again. With one hand he had the alam, with another hand they say he had a spear, some say he had a sword. And he returned. At this point, Umar ibn Sa'd said to his army, "O army, if that water gets back to the tent, then this battle will go on. You must stop the water from getting back." Now they couldn't face him, so they surrounded him from all sides. And they would wait and lie in wait for him as he was passing. Some would strike him with sword. Some would strike him with spears. Some would throw arrows at him. Some would throw the stones at him. At one point, someone cut his right hand. Those, inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take you all to Karbala, that you go and do the ziyarat. You see, at one point, that is the maqam that one of his hands fell. And then further on, there's another maqam that his other hand fell. And then much further on is where his body lies. Okay? So at one point, his right hand got cut. So he moved the flask onto his left. As he proceeded, then his left hand got cut. And they said that he held onto the flask with his teeth. Mullah Abbas is proceeding still towards, he's still hopeful that he can get water to the children. Finally, an arrow pierces the flask and the water flows onto the plains and the hot sand of Karbala. Mullah Abbas at that point turns his horse back. He turns his horse back. And the army of Yazid surround him. They surround him and they throw whatever they have at him. And he falls onto the earth. Zakir has said that he saw Hazrat Abbas in his dreams. And he said, "Oh man, recite my shahadat properly." I said, "Mullah, what is the mistake I've made?" He said, "Remind people that when someone falls from a horse, they put forward their hands to protect themselves. When Abbas fell, he had no arms, he had no hands to protect himself. He landed on the earth. He called out to his Mawla, 'Oh Mawla Hussein, accept your brother's salam.' It is said my Mawla Hussein came. The army of Yazid parted, he came through. Some say he fought his way through, others said the army parted. My Mawla Hussein arrived. He fell by the body of Abbas. Abbas said, 'Oh Mawla, can you clear the dust from my eyes? I would not ask of you this, but I have no hands, no arms to do this myself.' Mawla Hussein cleared the eyes. He says, 'I want to do your ziyarat one last time.' Mawla Hussein did that. And he asked his brother, 'Oh brother, do you have any more last requests?' He said, 'Oh my brother, oh my Mawla, do not take my body back. Do not take my body back, because the ladies and the children will not be able to bear it.' It is said that my Mawla Hussein said, 'Oh Abbas, today and now my back has been broken. You have relieved me even in your death of such hardship of carrying you back.' My Mawla Hussein left his body. It said the army of Yazid had surrounded my Mawla at this time, and many of them were crying. My Mawla Hussein looked at them. 'You have killed my brother, may God curse you.' Even they were crying. 'Let the tears flow, my brothers. Let my tears flow, my dear sisters. This is Abbas you're crying for.' My Mawla Hussein got back. It is said he took the flask back and the alam. Hazrat Sakina had gathered the children by the tents at this time. She said, 'I could see the alam of my uncle coming back to us. Come, come, water is coming. Come, come, water is coming.' When Mawla Hussein arrived, Hazrat Sakina said, Oh Baba, where is my Chacha Abbas?" Imam Hussein said, "Oh Sakina, he is on the he is on the plains and on the land of Karbala, and he has been martyred." Sakina said, "My thirst is gone. Oh Baba, I'm no longer thirsty. Just bring back my Chacha Abbas." Hi Abbas. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.